before I start this video, I'd recommend subscribing because, yeah, but I'm just guessing you guys have been on Studio quite a bit and you're liking it. You're starting to make games and you're really starting to like Studio. I'm going to be going over some of the best plugins you can have as a Roblox developer. The first plugin we're talking about is Gap Fill, one of the best plugins that I can recommend. So let's say you have a block here like this, and let's say you have two blocks that you really want to connect, but you can't connect them because they're at an angle, and you trying to connect them yourself is a bit of, let's just say, effort and too much time to try to connect these two blocks. But there's a fix around this. If you go into plugins, open Gap Fill, put it in default, put one stud, put it down this way and up this way, and it fills it in. If you want the bottom to be filled in too, just do the same on the bottom, boom. And if you want this here and this here, it makes shapes like this. You can do anything with this plugin. It's so useful for any situation you need. I so highly recommend it. Like, look, instantly filled this block corner in and it's perfectly perfect. That's why Gap Fill is one of the best plugins you can use for building structures or maps or anything like that. Highly recommend it. I'd rate it a 10 out of 10. Secondly, this is one of the best plugins you can use if you're making a realistic game, which is Realism Mod. And all you gotta do is press install. This pops up, and all this to the left is what it says. So like fall damage, or add fall damage to your game, which you can customize it however you want by adding 14 studs for the damage height, making lethal height so when you fall from the studs that it says, you will die instantly. Or if you don't want fall damage, you want, let's say, disable shift lock, then that will disable your shift lock, so you can add sprint buttons, or you can just don't want a game that has shift lock, and that's done. Day night cycle, day night cycle. You can change the day duration, which changes how long it is in minutes. It changed to night time. Night duration the same way for that. All this stuff. First person, we'll add it permanently first person. Hide player names, ragdoll, realistic head movements. I'll demonstrate head movements for you real quick. Wherever you look, it'll move your head that way, like this. Like, see how my head moves with where I look? That's how realistic head movements works. The next best plugin I can think of is definitely, it has to be, Building Tools by F3X. This plugin has helped me so much in my future of game development. So let's select the part you want, which is this part. Let's say put it on local, then you put it to clone. Let's just move it over here. That's the scale, this is the move, then this is the rotate, which is really useful rotate, which I highly recommend because it's just so good. This is basically just an easier version of the move, scale and rotate on your home page, but with more things like fill colors. You can choose a color. Let's say I want a red block, changes it to red instantly. Say blue, any color you want. Let's say you want surface tool. Let's do the top surface and do it as a studs. Change it to studs. Let's say you want hinge. It changes it to a hinge block. Let's say you also want universal, which is like it'll move the studs as you move the block. Glue, which makes it sticky to anything. And motor, which makes stuff rotate on top of it. The next best plugin I can think of is Archimedes. This plugin basically will add this thing next to your block, which will perfectly make a circle if you press Y2, which goes inside of it, Z, which goes down like a ramp, Z2, that way Y is upwards, X is upwards left, Y is, yep, all this stuff. You can change the degrees of the angle to whatever you want, like this. Then once you press render, renders a block like that, make perfect circles. that's how it works. It's simple for making circles or buildings like ramps or downwards ramps, anything you can think of as a circle. A really good plugin I can think of is cutscene plugin. This basically, you name your plugin up here, name, create or select plugin, create. Once you've created it, you can look where you want the plugin to go, change your FOV to like this or this. I'll do 120, and then tilt, it's like tilting this way, that way. Delay is how long it takes for it to actually start doing the cutscene. Duration is 5 seconds. Let's do this, like this. Go all the way down here, and then do 9 seconds. Press space again. Space. It makes a plugin. It makes a cutscene from this block to that block. Then you press generate script. Then it makes the cutscene all for you. I'll preview it for you. So once you join the game, in the bottom right it has a skip button in case you want to skip the cutscene, which fully works, and then boom. That's how that cutscene works. If you're trying to make a game where you want the sun to be in a certain place, or you have a tree, let's say you have just a simple little block like this, like that, and it has shaders on it, and you want the shadow to be in a certain place, then go on plugins and select celestial body dragger, put sun. Now look, you just click the sun can move wherever you put it. Then if you put it downwards, change it to nighttime. Middle, change it to like this type of thing. It's really good for if you want to do sunrises or stuff like that. I highly recommend this plugin. If you're just trying to get a simple body of water but you don't know how to make water, just get your block, scale it to however big you want, then press plugins and use part to water, and then you make sure your block's selected. If you want cartoon water, select cartoon. If you want realistic, which is like waves and it moves, that's realistic. I'm gonna go with realistic for this. Animatable, I don't recommend using that. Water speed, put it to like medium. Move sideways, move forwards, and put transform. And it goes like this. It looks like this in game. And then once you load into the game fully, it will look like this. But it will look better in game if you customize it better. But I recommend using cartoon or realistic. Just put movement less and customize it however you want, and it looks like that on the side to realistic. The next best plugin I can think of is the one I have, which I use quite a lot, which is Realistic Graphics 2.02. Click it, comes up with this tab here, and you have all these different sections. Dark and gloomy for horror games, simulator for, well, simulator games, sunset serene, which is warm and like a sunset type thing, warm summer evening, which is just like this in the background, realistic graphics, which is this, and in game it will load this if you load in. This is how realistic graphics look, like this. It's too bright in my opinion. I don't like it because it's just way too bright for a game. I don't recommend using it, but it gives off good summaries though. So those are my top. I don't know how much I did there for plugins, but those are my top. I'd just say 10 plugins I like to use and recommend for you guys if you are starting Studio. They're so useful, trust me. And if we can get a cheeky little subscribe, it'll mean the world to me, because I'm trying to show you guys the way of Studio, but I can't do that if you guys don't subscribe, because I got no one to show it to, you know? Like, just subscribe before I take you hostage. I mean, if you subscribe, I'll give you a cookie, I promise. Just look at this face. Do you trust it? I do.